Okay, imagine this. Military aircraft flying complex missions. We're talking clearing buildings, maybe even dogfighting, but all without a human pilot actually inside the cockpit. Or think about drones navigating dangerous compounds, places that humans shouldn't really go. Sounds a bit like science fiction, doesn't it? Well, maybe not anymore. Today here at the Deep Dive, we're really digging into the company making this happen, Shield AI.
It's actually pretty remarkable how artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing, well, everything in the defense industry. Our mission today is to explore Shield AI's journey. We'll look at their core tech, this hive mind software, their autonomous platforms, and, the bigger picture, what AI means for modern warfare. So tactical advantages, sure, but also the really significant ethical questions that arise. By the end, you'll have a really clear sense of not just what they're building, but why it's so important for global security and maybe even our collective future.
Yeah, and to help us understand all this, we've got some great sources. We've looked at a detailed business breakdown from Contrary Research and equity analysis from Sacred 2. These give a fantastic view into Shield AI's founding, their products, how they're doing in the market, and what might be next for them. So for, gosh, decades, really, defense innovation was mostly about the hardware, right? Bigger tanks, faster jets, more powerful missiles, that kind of thing. But what our sources are really highlighting, especially that Contrary Research report, is this major shift. AI is moving so fast. Software is now the cutting edge, working with the hardware. It's becoming the main focus for the U.S. military, intelligence services.
And this shift, it's not just about technical specs, it has a really human side. Autonomous software, when you integrate it into military systems, it genuinely has the potential to dramatically cut down on human casualties and just make things safer for personnel. These AI systems, they give you real-time intelligence. They can process just vast amounts of data for better decisions, improving everything from recon and logistics right through to actual combat missions. It's really about giving forces an edge while, minimizing the risk to people.
And we're already seeing this happen, aren't we? On the world stage. Conflicts like the war in Ukraine, the Gaza war, they've really shown this shift in action. You look at Ukraine, despite Russia having a much larger defense budget, AI tech, things like drones, AI targeting, it's allowed Ukrainian forces to really hold their own against a larger adversary. It just shows how AI can sort of level the playing field. It's about capability, not just numbers anymore.
The market definitely shows this change in priorities, too. I mean, the AI defense market was valued around, $6.4 billion back in 2021, and it's projected to jump to maybe $13.2 billion by 2028. That's not just a small trend. That's a fundamental shift in where defense money is going. And you saw back in March 2023, the Biden-Harris administration asked for $842 billion for the DoD. That was like a $26 billion increase from the year before. It really shows this commitment to AI and related tech as, central to national security.
It's interesting, though, this growth also shines a light on the wider defense industry dynamic. For years, the U.S. defense scene has been dominated by just like 5 huge companies, right? Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, the big players. And while they're obviously incredibly powerful, maybe that consolidation kind of slowed down really rapid cutting-edge innovation, which, creates an opening for agile startups like Shield AI to come in and, shake things up a bit, offer new solutions faster than the traditional giants sometimes can.
Yeah, and to really get how Shield AI is doing that, you have to look at where they came from. It wasn't cooked up in some sterile lab or boardroom. It came from the front lines. The company was founded back in 2015 by brothers. Brendan Singh, he's president and CGO, chief growth officer, and Ryan Singh, who's the CEO. They also had Andrew Ryder involved early on. He was their former CTO.
Brandon Singh's story is, it's pretty compelling. It wasn't just a job for him. It was born out of his time as a Navy SEAL. Apparently, he dreamed of being a SEAL since he was a kid. Served 2 tours in Afghanistan, other deployments too. And he talks really vividly about seeing soldiers risking their lives, sometimes losing them, in urban warfare. Specifically, he said, entering compounds and buildings with little information about what lay around the next corner or behind the next door. That experience, it clearly stuck with him.
So after 7 years in the Navy, Brandon saw this problem, physically searching buildings. It was dangerous, constant, but he thought, critically, it was solvable. He went on to do his MBA at Harvard Business School in 2015, and that's where things started clicking into place. He combined his, real-world operational insight with his brother Ryan's background in entrepreneurship. Ryan had already founded a wireless charging company, sold it to Qualcomm, and Andrew Ryder's deep expertise in computer vision from Draper Labs.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they had this, perfect mix: military experience, business sense, and serious tech know-how.
But it wasn't easy at the start, not at all. Back in 2015, they got a lot of no's. Investors apparently liked the team, liked the tech, but they refused to back anything related to defense.
Hmm.
It really shows how much things have changed in VC, doesn't it? At one point, someone actually offered them $5 million just to stop, to abandon the whole mission.
Wow, $5 million. Just to stop. That really underlines the skepticism around defense tech only a few years back. But they stuck with it. And the turning point, it seems, was in 2016. Ryan Singh took an overnight bus trip San Diego to Oakland to meet David Frankel from Founders Collective. That meeting, that was key. It got them an $800,000 seed round. And after that, things started moving fast. By 2018, their Novo quadcopter, it became the first fully AI-piloted drone used in actual combat, working in places with no GPS, no comms. That's huge. And then 2019 saw their VBeat system become operational too. Okay, so let's talk about the tech itself, this game-changing stuff. At the absolute heart of Shield AI is HiveMind. You can basically think of it as an AI pilot. For military aircraft, maybe commercial ones down the line, it's a self-driving platform that can, read the environment, react to it autonomously, like a really skilled human pilot.
Yeah, HiveMind uses these really sophisticated algorithms for planning, mapping, understanding its position, which lets the aircraft pull off incredibly dynamic maneuvers. But the really critical part is how it learns. It uses reinforcement learning to discover, learn, and then execute winning strategies. And crucially, it does all this without needing GPS signals or preset waypoints or even constant communication links. The company calls it a top gun for every aircraft, which is a pretty bold claim, but you see their point. If you break it down, think of HiveMind as the aircraft's brain and nervous system. You've got EdgeOS, that's the lightweight software for real-time ops. Pilot is the decision engine, making flight choices, coordinating maybe with other drones. Commander is like the mission control interface for human oversight. And Forge is their simulation tool, where AI basically trains and practices millions of scenarios.
And Shield AI offers this HiveMind tech in two main ways, it looks like. First is what they call the enterprise model. So here they basically package HiveMind up as an autonomy stack. Customers, like other defense contractors or allied governments, can license it and integrate it into their own planes or drones. It's modular.
Right. And then there are the turnkey solutions. This is for customers who need the whole package ready to go. Shield AI's team handles everything, adapting HiveMind to the specific aircraft, its flight dynamics, sensors, mission goals, all that. And we've seen HiveMind deployed on some serious platforms already. The Kratos Firejet, General Atomics MQ-20 Avenger, and maybe most impressively, they've even integrated it into an F-16 fighter jet. Putting it on an F-16, that really says something about how capable this AI is becoming.
Their reach is definitely growing fast, too. They've got partnerships with big names like Palantir, Korea Aerospace Industries, Singapore's Air Force, Booz Allen Hamilton. And it's a key point, isn't it, that HiveMind has been the first and only autonomous AI pilot deployed in the field since 2018, powering real missions, from complex dogfighting simulations to penetrating advanced air defenses. But Shield AI isn't just about the software, the brains. They're also building their own hardware, their own fleet of autonomous vehicles, designed specifically for these really tough environments. Let's look at some of those platforms.
Okay, first up is the VBAT. That's a vertical takeoff and landing UAS unmanned aircraft system. What makes it really stand out is this unique ducted fan design. Shield AI says it boosts thrust by over 80%, which gives it incredible control. Even in bad conditions like rocky ground or high winds, it can launch and land vertically just hovering, then fly horizontally for over 13 hours. And it can even switch back mid-flight to just hover and stare for persistent surveillance. And the whole system apparently fits in the back of a minivan or a pickup truck. Pretty portable.
Right, they got the VB when they acquired Martin UAV back in 2021. It's been operational since 2018. Used by U.S. Southern Command, the Coast Guard, the Marines, and internationally, too. Brazil's Defense Unit, Romania, Japan. They're adding it to their naval ISR fleets, ISR being intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Shield AI's big vision here is apparently a swarm of VBeats on every U.S. and allied naval ship, creating this huge ISR network over the battlefield.
Then there's the Nova 2. This one's a smaller quadcopter drone. Its main job is indoor reconnaissance, designed to operate completely autonomously. No GPS needed, no human constantly joysticking it. The idea is it goes into buildings first, clears them, detects threats, automatically builds maps. It can even create detailed 3D maps of multi-story buildings. And it gives real-time info, like vibration alerts, back to the soldiers waiting outside. The whole point is reducing risk for personnel entering dangerous spaces, helping them plan better, improving safety.
And the Nova 2, it's been a key tool for U.S. Special Operations Command since 2018. Both U.S. and Israeli forces have apparently called it the most mission-capable indoor drone. Now, it's currently unarmed, but the company has said they're not against arming it in the future, which definitely opens up another layer of discussion down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, let's touch on VIDAR. That stands for Visual Detection and Ranging. Think of this as a super smart AI-powered camera payload designed for wide area surveillance and targeting. The big difference compared to, say, traditional camera turrets with a narrow view is that VIDAR gives you persistent, uniform coverage over huge areas of land or sea, and it can do this even if the aircraft is moving fast or if the sea conditions are really rough, like Sea State 6, that's waves over 20 feet high.
How does it do that? Its tech combines these Ultra HD multispectral sensors with AI processing right there on board. So it can passively detect, classify, and track things. Small drones, even individual people. From 30,000 feet up, day or night. Shield AI acquired the company behind VIDAR, Sentient Vision Systems, just back in April 2024. And the first VIDAR payloads are set to go to the U.S. Marine Corps in 2025. The promise is much better situational awareness while staying stealthy and hard to jam. So, okay, they've got this impressive tech. How are they actually doing in the market? Who's buying this stuff? They've clearly found a really valuable niche. Their customers seem to fall into a few groups. People needing ready-to-go intelligence right now, existing equipment makers who want to add AI pilots, governments buying sovereign autonomy capabilities, and engineering services or integrators.
And the real-world use cases are striking. You mentioned Ukraine earlier. VBATs have been deployed there since August 2024 for autonomous ISR, their training personnel, and importantly, countering GPS jamming, which is a huge issue there. And in Israel, during the Gaza war, NOAA quadcopters were used for close-quarters indoor combat and hostage rescue ops, showing just how vital they can be in really critical, high-stakes situations.
It's not just conflict zones. They're really expanding globally. Those partnerships with Korea Aerospace Industries, Singapore's Air Force, Brazil's VSK Tactical, the VBATs is going to Romania and Japan for naval ISR. It all shows this widening international interest and adoption of Shield AI's tech.
This also brings up a really key point, which is how different Shield AI's business model is from, the traditional defense giants. It's a fundamental change. Traditionally, contractors wait for the government to issue a request for proposal, an RFP. Then they develop something. After using cost-plus contracts, they get paid for their cost plus a guaranteed profit, maybe 5–10%. Shield AI flips that. They front-load their R&D. They take the financial risk themselves to build product lines first, then offer them, much more like a commercial tech company operates.
That is a huge difference, isn't it? It lets them offer cutting-edge stuff right off the shelf, basically, instead of waiting for an order to start building. And their revenue seems to reflect that agile, tech-first approach. Estimated $267 million for 2024, which is up like 64% from $163 million in 2023. That's serious growth. And their target profit margins are completely different too, aiming for 40–50% on hardware and maybe 60% plus for hive-mind software licensing like a SaaS model, which is just worlds away from the typical 5–10% that traditional primes work with.
And their funding and valuation really tell that story too. Shield AI has raised, $1.31 billion total?
Yeah.
And was valued at $5.3 billion back in March 2025 after their Series F round. That makes them the second most valuable defense tech startup out there, right behind Anduril. And that valuation implies something like a 20x revenue multiple. That's significant. It shows investors really believe Shield AI is a category-defining platform company.
Yeah.
They're valuing it more like a high-growth software company, like Palantir maybe, which is way up at 68.8x. Not like a traditional defense prime like Lockheed Martin, which is down at maybe 1.8x. It's a different mindset.
So when you look at who they're competing against, it's kind of a mixed bag. You still got the huge traditional players, Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon, can't ignore them.
Yeah.
But then you have this new wave of tech startups really making noise. Anduril, obviously, with their broader Lattice OS platform, Xeronic doing autonomous boats, Skydio with their drones and computer vision AI.
Yeah, it's definitely competitive. But actually, the success of companies like Anduril, improving in that startups can win significant government contracts, that kind of helps everyone else in a way. It reduces the perceived political risk for investors and for the government itself. It opens doors for companies like Shield AI. But what really makes Shield AI stand out, I think, is HiveMind. It's a full autonomy stack, specifically built for aircraft, military, and potentially commercial. That sharp focus on aerial autonomy, from the AI core right through to the integrated drones, that gives them a really distinct position.
Okay, so looking ahead then, where does Shield AI go from here? The potential seems pretty huge for a company leading this kind of change. Their big ambition, it sounds like, is to be the leading defense contractor for the 21st century. by providing the AI and autonomy layer for everything, integrating hive mind into, well, all sorts of unmanned systems, aircraft, sure, but maybe ground vehicles, ships, even submarines eventually. That F-16 integration we mentioned, that's a huge proof point for that bigger vision.
And their strategy, especially with acquisitions and partnerships, is really smart. Buying companies like Heron Systems, remember their AI pilot beat a human F-16 pilot in that simulation, and Martin UAV, which brought them the VB-8. That's been key to getting tech deployed faster and building out their portfolio. And the recent Sentient Vision Systems deal for VDAR that not only boosts their maritime ISR game, but it strategically sets up Shield AI Australia, expanding their global R&D and market presence.
And you mentioned commercial potential earlier. That seems like a massive opportunity beyond just defense, right? Once you prove this autonomous tech works in the really demanding military space, those capabilities could transfer pretty directly to commercial aviation.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the future people talk about. eVTOLs, electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, flying taxis. The economics of those only really work if they're fully autonomous. Having even one human pilot on board makes them way too expensive for mass adoption. So, by mastering military-grade autonomy now, Shield AI is essentially building the foundation for that future. Where maybe urban air travel is actually practical and affordable, that could unlock a huge multi-billion-dollar commercial market down the line. Just look at the commercial drone market alone, estimated at nearly $30 billion in 2022, and growing at almost 40% a year projected out to 2030. It's enormous.
But okay, with all this groundbreaking stuff, there are always challenges, big ones. Shield AI, like anyone in this space, has some serious hurdles ahead.
Yeah, and one of the biggest has to be the ethical concerns around AI in the military. The public debate is intense, especially about autonomous weapons, lethal autonomous weapon systems, or laws. And the whole idea of losing human control over decisions about life and death, that's a critical risk area. You see campaigns like Stop Killer Robots really pushing this issue. These concerns, they could absolutely impact Shield AI's reputation, maybe their funding, their partnerships, and it could lead to much stricter regulations that might slow things down. It's something they have to navigate very carefully.
Right. And then there's the competition we talked about. It's fierce. Staying ahead technologically and grabbing market share from both the giants and the other startups,
Yeah.
that's a constant battle.
And finally, relying so heavily on government contracts. It's powerful, but it's also a potential bottleneck. Military vetting, the whole procurement process, it's historically been slow, really slow, especially compared to how fast AI itself is developing. So if the Pentagon's buying habits stay rigid, if they keep favoring the established players just because they're established, Shield AI might struggle to land the big long-term contracts they need for sustained growth, even if their tech is better. The challenge is translating that rapid innovation into steady, large-scale deployment within a system that traditionally moves, well, slowly.
Wow, okay, that was quite the deep dive into Shield AI. From a Navy SEAL's vision forged in combat to AI pilots that might one day dogfight F-16s. It's just incredibly clear that this company is right at the heart of a massive, probably irreversible shift in defense tech and strategy.
Yeah, Shield AI really captures the tension, but also the incredible potential of where we are technologically. They're using cutting-edge AI to try and make warfare safer, more effective, pushing boundaries, but at the same time, they're navigating these incredibly complex ethical questions and, frankly, the old bureaucratic hurdles of the defense world, the future of defense, and maybe even commercial flight as we know it. It really depends on how these autonomous systems develop, how they're used, and how we decide to govern them. So as you think about Shield AI's story, maybe ask yourself this. In a world that's going to be increasingly driven by AI, what does human oversight truly mean? Especially when machines are making critical, potentially life or death decisions in the heat of conflict, how do we make sure that human element stays absolutely paramount?